Gang members who tried to gun down a rival on a residential street as children looked on were thwarted when their pistols jammed. Armed with the gun and machetes, 4 teenagers had pursued and tried to shoot their 17-year-old victim in the Gipton area of Leeds on the 7th of July last year. Kamahl Johnson, 19, of Grange Crescent, Chapeltown, and Zane Gatewood, 18, of Pawson Street, Wakefield, were each sentenced to 7 years and 2 months in custody at Leeds Crown Court. The 17-year-old was sentenced to 7 years and 5 months, and the 16-year-old was given a term of 4 years and 9 months. Neither can be named, as they are under 18 years old. During the Sunday afternoon chase, a shot was fired at the victim, but the bullet lodged in the barrel of the converted blank-firing pistol, according to West Yorkshire Police. The force said the victim had fled into a nearby shop and escaped through the back door. Officers were deployed and detained the teenagers in the Hare Hills area of Leeds. The 16-year-old was found hiding in the garden with a machete in his waistband, while the others were in another garden on the same street. The second machete was found in a dog kennel in the garden where the 3 had been found. A converted blank-firing handgun along with 4 rounds of 9mm ammunition was found in a black Louis Vuitton man bag in a neighbouring garden, police said. CCTV showed that the 17-year-old had the handgun at the time. The victim did not want to cooperate with the investigation, and those arrested give no comment when interviewed. The 4 all admitted possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life. Detective Chief Inspector Michael Herbert, who led the investigation, said the CCTV footage shows this terrifying incident unfolding on a Sunday afternoon in a residential area where it was witnessed by a large number of people, including young children. Here's another story coming from Birmingham ways. A fugitive who planned to ambush a robbery of a rival drug dealer, which ended in the tragic murder of the intended target's driver, has been jailed. Ayub Khan was the 4th and final person brought to justice over the fatal stabbing of Richard Hopley in Harborne in September 2022. The 29-year-old fled to Pakistan, where he got married and fathered a child. His 3 accomplices, Nicholas Stallard, Paul Hales, and the man who inflicted the fatal blow, Mohammed Qasim, were convicted for their involvement and jailed as he lay low. Khan returned to Britain last year, believing he could no longer be implicated by the other men. After being arrested, he also fooled a psychologist into concluding he was vulnerable in a bid to deceive the jury that he was an innocent dupe. But Khan's lies were foiled and he was found guilty of the murder and conspiracy to rob. On Tuesday, February the 25th, at Birmingham Crown Court, the 29-year-old from Metchley Drive, Harborne, was sentenced to life with a minimum term of 30 years in jail. It brings the gang's minimum total prison time to more than 80 years. Judge Paul Farrar, KC, told him, in short, this was a planned ambush robbery of a rival drug dealer in the circumstances where Qasim was armed with a knife and all 4 conspirators intended he would produce it. You and Qasim intended the knife to be used and necessary to inflict really serious injury. Tragically, Mr. Hopley tried to interfere in the robbery. That led to Qasim stabbing him with severe force to the chest. After dismissing Khan's facade of vulnerability, the judge added, "You were the architect of the conspiracy to rob, and the dominant force among the four conspirators. Stallard, a drug user, fell out with his dealer, known as Ace, after giving him a fake £20 note. It led to the plot for him, his associate Hales, another drug dealer Khan, and his runner Qasim to rob him. On September the 22nd, 2022, they called Ace to meet them at Underwood Close, Harborne, selecting the location because it had a nearby alleyway to make for an easy escape. Mr. Hopley, 43, was driving Ace around in a Volkswagen Passat and pulled up around 2:50 p.m. Qasim got in the front passenger seat, brandished the knife and demanded drugs he handed over, but as he tried to get out, Mr. Hopley resisted and Qasim stabbed him in the chest. Upon seeing the struggle, Hales and Stallard ran after the Passat and attacked it. Khan, who had been standing separately near a shop, moved towards the vehicle, brandishing his own knife, but soon retreated. After Qasim fled the car, Mr. Hopley managed to drive a short distance to Metchley Lane, but collapsed at the wheel and died. Hales, now 65, and Stallard, now 43, were caught 2 days later and found guilty of manslaughter and conspiracy to rob following the first trial. They were sentenced to 10 years and 13 years respectively. Qasim, now 25, also fled to Pakistan but returned to the UK in 2023. He was found guilty of murder and conspiracy to rob in a second trial, leading to a life sentence and a minimum term of 30 years. Khan flew back to the UK last September. Judge Farah told him, "You sought to present yourself as a vulnerable individual with limited intelligence. You successfully misled a psychologist into believing you had the IQ of 47 and you were vulnerable and suggestible." He confirmed a second psychologist contradicted the finding, concluding that Khan was of average intelligence, was not suggestible, and was not vulnerable to others despite having post-traumatic stress disorder. Judge Farah added, "In reality, you are the streetwise individual who sought to manipulate proceedings to your advantage." He ruled that Khan deliberately waited to return to the UK until after his accomplices had been convicted, so he could portray himself as the innocent dupe of the group. Mr. Hopley's mother, Marilyn Warner, attended every day of all 3 trials. In previous statements, she described how he was a miracle baby he thought she would never have. Miss Warner said Mr. Hopley was not the Richard you have been told about, as she described him as loving and kind, notwithstanding his problems with drug addiction. Following Khan's conviction, she said the 22nd of September 2022 was the day my life was destroyed, and I suspect so was yours. Unlike you, I didn't deserve it. Miss Warner admitted she thought she would never live to see a cowardly Khan and Qasim in court after they fled the country, adding she was relieved the proceedings were now over and she could have some closure. Addressing her son, she concluded her statement saying, "Now you really can rest in peace." Gary Bell, KC, defending Khan, argued it was not an assassination but a robbery that went tragically wrong. He told the court that family members and friends had submitted references describing him as kind, helpful and respectful. Mr. Bell added this was a good man in the community. They all share the same sentiment. They can't believe he's being convicted of the offences he's being convicted of, but he has, and it's his own fault. Please like this video, please comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.